this one. Does any one of you have a YouTube window open somewhere?
Yes,
Just
I do.
to prove that we are streaming.
Looking good.
Okay, great. Okay, so hello everyone out there. The last session of this year is taking place now, and for this session we. Oh, just a moment. I'm not sure.
By the looks of it, we're not online. And oh.
Yeah, something went wrong here. Just a minute. Always.
Oh, we're online. Now it's going on.
Okay. But I have just some weird problems with the screen.
Should we send it back to our sponsor as Torsten fixes technical difficulties? Telescope Express, the best telescope company around. There you go.
So let's try it this way. Okay, that should look better now. Okay, I restart. I restart. Today we have the last session of this year, and we thought about a little special tonight. So we want to go a bit deeper in image processing. So this is one point, and for this, Johan from California will show us some of his image processing. But first and foremost, we have a new ambassador for Teleskop-Service. This is Suhel from Kosovo, and he will just briefly introduce himself. So I give the stage to you, Suhel.
Thank you. So you can hear me, right?
Yeah.
So one more time, I apologize for the background noise. We are located here at the Palace of Youth, or the Youth Center. So there is a Philharmonic concert going on. So my name is Suhel. I come from Pristina, Kosovo. I'm the president and founder of the Astronomy Club of Kosovo, the Pristina Observatory. It's so nice to be here among you guys, and I'm looking forward to hopefully get to know you more, and also to the viewers to enjoy what we are doing. And I feel so special to be part of the team. We have recently become a brand ambassador of Teleskop-Service here for Kosovo and for this part of the world as well. I was visiting the store back in Germany, and I was always seeing possibilities what we can do here back in Kosovo, because we have a lot of flags in the field of science and astronomy. So we have started on 2014 as the only astronomy club in Kosovo, and slowly growing into a more serious group with scheduled meetings about stargazing and everything. So thanks to different astronomers and for International Astronomy Organization, who helped us to achieve our goals and our dreams. And now we own the Pristina Observatory. In the background is our office here. Unfortunately, this observatory was not being used for almost 40 years. So we have been advocating since like so many years to bring it back to the public. We have reopened it with the support of our mayor, the United Nations. So a lot of donors want to support our club and what we are doing here in Kosovo, so we could bring science to the general audience. One initiative that is going on right now is the Under One Sky initiative. Boundaries vanish when we look skyward, because we want to bring together all so yeah, all ethnicities in Kosovo by working together and by sharing the wonders of the universe to everyone, because we have other communities living in Kosovo. So we want to tell them that the sky is not the limit, and that the boundaries vanish when we look skyward. So I feel so special to be part of the team, and hopefully we're gonna be representing TS in this part of the world in the most possible way. And I also look forward to getting more experience on astrophotography and get some tips on what you guys are doing, so we could also bring this to Kosovo, because it's something that has been missing. So my dream is to also take some pictures from the Kosovo skies, and hopefully in the future, like, exhibit them so people could see them, because a lot of people here in Kosovo are looking through a telescope for the first time. And imagine if they see like what you have been doing also and taking pictures of the cosmos. So I think this would be something very special. And thank you, TS, for bringing this opportunity here to Kosovo. We are national coordinators of Astronomers Without Borders, International Astronomical Union. So we will also represent TS on whatever we do in our activities. We have a lot of public media like attention. Until recently, we are been the only astronomy club in Kosovo, but now people are showing more interest, and people are like want to get more engaged. So we are helping them also to, for example, we have helped so many groups throughout Kosovo to form their initiatives and bring science to where we cannot go. For example, we do astronomy camps, workshops, info sessions, star parties, different like astro camps, and we will continue to bring the science to the general audience, because astronomy is not just about formula and all this math, is also how you are teaching this to the audience, to the general audience, so people can also understand it into a more easy way. So it's so nice to be here, and I look forward to seeing what we have to do today.
Oh, great. Thank you very much.
There's so much to also be talking, but to taking in regard that we also have a short amount of time about the live session, and we hope to have more opportunity to talk in our future sessions.
Of course, yeah. That was just very spontaneous, but of course we can do also a session where you can explain it a bit more in detail. But it's really great to hear that you bring it to this broad, in this broad range to interested people. That's really cool.
And a great thank to Bernhard and Michael and Marcel, who has been welcoming me on their headquarters every time I was going there with open arms. And now finally I have officially become a brand ambassador. So I'm looking forward to what awaits. And I always say this, as the journey of 1,000 light years begins with a single step, just like the universe was formed from something very small. I think that this is a small step for us, but a giant leap for Kosovo.
Coming from that part of the world, Suhel, I cannot thank you enough. I'm from Romania, so not far from you. Having an astronomy outreach program is incredible for the youth. I think it's important to know what's out there, important to stay off TikTok and look at stuff that actually matters. No advertisement for TikTok here. I'm just saying that I think it will open their minds to the universe. So thank you for doing this in Kosovo.
Thank you also for having me, like giving me a chance to be sharing this, what is happening in this part of the world, and encouraging other people to continue doing to what they are already doing.
Yeah, great.
So the floor is to you. And luckily, the noise just stopped. I mean, just when I finished my speech, so it's very...
I think it was going on. I think the crescendo was happening as you were talking, so it's very well synchronized there. Very well synchronized.
I think this was planned, okay, for this to happen, so...
Before we continue, I just quickly have to redo some of my... I have to change my screen here. So
yeah, can I ask you all a couple of questions? I'm curious about what he has in the background, because I can see a couple of solar scope. I can see, what is it, Coronado 60 or 40, right, Suhel? To your left.
So we have a Solar Max 2 that was donated by Mead Instruments. We have a personal solar telescope, and we are poured. I don't know if you can see, there are some wooden mounts. This project is Star Shrine for Everyone. Is from a dear friend in Belgium. He has this initiative that he wants to send free telescopes to all these people with disabilities, with needs, with like who need a telescope but they cannot afford it. So their representative is called Stars Shrine for Everyone. Also, we have here we have the One Sky telescope from Astronomers Without Borders. We recently we got donated by Daystar Filters. It's a solar scope. It's also a hydrogen alpha telescope. But what is missing right now is we like to have a good astrophotography camera, and hopefully we will receive it soon by TS, and we will continue to take pictures of these so we could share like with the people here. Because it's so interesting, because some of the people are looking through the telescope for the first time and they don't believe what they are seeing. So it's such a nice experience for them to also be experiencing this in person. Because I remember my biology professor, when she was telling about cells, okay, it was interesting, but it was a different story when I looked through a microscope. So we want to bring this chance to also to students, to teachers, to practically give astronomy to schools. And
show the images that we're going to show today. I think that will impress, or at least give them a little bit of understanding what astrophotography could be. Specifically Sophie, because she's amazing at one-shot color, and Peter, I'm not as good as them.
Well, if I have your right, of course, I would be more than happy to share it.
Okay, then that sounds all good. And now I have also changed the setup of my screen, so now it should also the stream looking better. Okay, so Iwan, if you want, then you can take the screen.
Let me see what my aspect ratio looks like, because I have a slightly wide monitor. Let's see how bad it is. I'm going to share and then we'll adjust. How bad is it, guys, when you see my screen?
Oh, yeah, that is bad.
Yeah, it is a little bit wide. Give me 1 second. I'll sort that out.
Yeah, that's the problem with these widescreen screens. They are super cool when you work on it, but for sharing.
How about now? Is this better aspect ratio?
Yes, that's
okay. I try to make it as good as possible. Okay, so before I get into processing, let me share some images and kind of give some information out. So I'm just loading some images in here. So let's focus on a few. So these two are the same object, but obviously 600 millimeters on the left, 1600 on the right. One's the RC, one's the Ricardi Honder's Cassegrain. So this is a little bit older. I think I might have shown it before. It is the Sadr region of the Butterfly Nebula, and this is a zoom in of this section here. You can actually see the difference in aperture 8 versus 12.5. The 50% resolution increase is pretty visible. These are some of the images I've been playing with. This object kind of sets pretty early for me, so I can image it for 2 hours maybe. But I'm probably going to do a 4-panel mosaic to capture this part here. Just a quick showcase. I think there's about 15 hours of data in here, about 7 in here, because again, it doesn't need a lot of data. But let's focus on this image, and I'll say in a second why. I was trying to change my processing techniques a little bit, because I felt that I wasn't really happy with the stars and the amount of saturation they got. So in my exploration to do that, I started trying to find new ways to process. Now these images are obviously different, because one on the left is built with a synthetic luminance channel built from all the channels, mostly hydrogen and oxygen, to pull out the center of the Wizard Nebula. Now, during this process, I did find a way to better improve the processing, and you see these problems with the star saturation. They were driving me insane, where if you don't remove your stars from the image and you start stretching it to an S-curve, let's just quickly do this. So if you do this on an image, right, usually you do this after you stretch to kind of pull a little bit of the details out. The moment you pull the highlights up here, you're done, right? So your stars are going to explode. They're going to As you can see here, the difference in star size because of the different seeing conditions starts showing up. So I was kind of bummed out that my stars were looking kind of bad. They looked like hot pixels. So I spent a decent amount of hours exploring a new way to do this with a number of tools. And then when I was done, I thought, I email Jerry and Robert from APOD quite often. Sometimes they're gracious enough to share my images. And I sent both images. The first email didn't work, so I have to resend it because they have a limit on their size. Couple of weeks later, they responded and said the image on the left is going to be the NASA APOD for November 14th. I am truly impressed that they chose it. Personally, as a designer, I like both. The one on the left is more significant about actually fixing the star problem. As you can see, the stars here don't actually have the same effect. Now, some of the diffraction sparks are gone, and I'm learning how to improve that. This is not a refractor. This is not another scope. It's the same telescope, but the processings are differently. Yeah, and this was chosen as the APOD for NASA on November 14th. I think there's a lot of everybody on this call who's an astrophotographer deserves one or two of these because we have a lot of talented people. This is what I was starting to do, and we'll get to the processing in a sec. So let me get rid of these. I also reprocessed this, which is the Rosette Nebula, taken with the Riccardi Honders. It's about 15 hours. As you can see, the stars look a lot better. The Riccardi Honders itself has a few issues when it comes to stars, some flaring because of the fast F ratio. And it's very important that you kind of deal with the stars accordingly. And, you know, when you reduce the stars, when you're trying to show emission nebulosity, this is really good. So now this is something I'm working on, which is the Orion Nebula in narrowband. I cannot shoot it in a Bortle 7 in one shot in LRGB, so I have to deal with this. This is very early days. It's probably only 6 hours. And then the trapezium is missing. The stars are there. It's just an artifact of my processing. They'll be back. They're not going away. This is using the actual data. It's not doing any kind of HDR, any kind of other exposure. This is 300-second exposures and then using high dynamic range, pulling the details back. This is the one from last year. I think you guys have seen it. It's the same, but I just wanted to show the difference in processing from last year is that the stars actually look so much tighter now. They're not as overly exposed, and they actually look pretty good with this new technique that I'm kind of trying to get to. Now, this is another image I took recently. The reason it's like this is because the stars suck. So when I was processing it, I was fighting Allen attack pretty badly. And to give you guys an idea, I'm going to open just a regular, let's say, S2 image. So this is what I was fighting. You guys can see this limb here. This is either Sirius, my neighbor's lights, or a reflection of the dew shield. So Allen attack itself is pretty bad, but Sirius is the brightest star in our sky. Hydrogen doesn't capture it, sulfur and oxygen do. Sorry, Torsten, you had a question.
Yeah, that's a crazy artifact, but this is a stack here.
Yes.
Okay.
You can see it in the fits, though. It's not like this doesn't show up in a regular fit. If I bring in a regular image, let me bring in a regular sulfur.
Yeah, I was wondering how a single frame looked like. Okay.
Still there.
Cool.
And the weird part is the reason I say it's a star is because the oxygen line is different than the sulfur line. So I'm suspecting that this is more of a it's a star and then it's picking up the different band passes. I can show you oxygen as well, and that will probably make a lot of sense. So here, this is oxygen.
And sorry, Ivan, just another question. This is the full frame of the Riccardi Honders?
This is the full frame of the Riccardi Honders with the full frame camera with the QHY 600. So
that's insane.
It is, and the issue is that telescope wasn't necessarily made for 44 millimeters. The factory spec is 42, and no cropping. And you can see, let's look at the shittiest channel, which is oxygen. The stars are not perfect, but they're not that bad. There's a lot of people who gave up on this telescope. My FSQ was worse, to be honest. My FSQ 106 had flaring in the corners that's not even comparable. So yeah, that's how I got my telescopes, because people think that they're bad. This one is the same. So this was the horse head. I removed the stars, I reprocessed, and to be honest, I kind of smudged out Allen Attack because, again, it's astrophotographers who want to capture emission don't really like Allen Attack. It's not really something that we go out at night and try to capture a star that destroys all the field. This is not that much data. This is maybe 5 hours per channel. And I had a couple of versions and I decided to go with this one. I know I should be doing RGB stars. I should be doing this. I should be doing that. But at the end of the day, when we do astrophotography, it's our perception and our vision that we're showing. So if you don't like it, capture it yourself. See how it goes. So yeah.
Suhel, you have a question?
Just a brief question. For me, like entering this professional astrophotography, what camera do you use? Like what telescope, mounting?
Sure.
Do you mind sharing it with me and also with the audience?
Yeah, of course. So in this particular example, I'm using an Ioptron 120 EC2 as a mount. EC2 stands for both encoders on the array and the declination. It's a little bit more precise. I'm using a Officina Stellare Riccardi Honder's 200mm f3 telescope. It's an astrograph. It's not with me. It's outside on the mount. I'm using a QHY600 mono camera, chroma, 5nm filters, and that's kind of it on this one. The other one.
No Paramount currently?
The Paramount is holding the bigger.
Okay. Okay, great.
Yeah, I do have a Paramount ME1, an older, blockier one, in a Officina Stellare CRC from TS Optics, a lemon, as they said that one day. And that was also using a QHY600 mono and chroma, 8nm HA and 3nm S203.
Was there a lot of light pollutions when you took these pictures?
Yeah, I live in a Bordeaux 7, so
you could still take this picture.
Yeah, narrowband. You can image from Las Vegas if you want, from borderline. If you have a tight enough bandpass, again, 5 and 3 are pretty tight. 3 is the tightest you can get. It reduces the most light pollution. My problem is that I also have a neighbor who's installed a light that he wants to, I don't know, call aliens or something. It's so bright that it impedes even the best filters. So yeah, usually I'm fine to image. I have good seeing and good transparency, nothing related to the Bordeaux, but sometimes, a lot of the frames have to be thrown out because of light coming from my neighbors.
So it took 6 hours of exposure to come to this result.
15 hours,
15 hours.
5 hours per channel, yes.
Okay.
Are there lights in your area like sodium lights, or are there some LEDs?
So the street lights are not the problem, Jan. They actually dim at 10 p.m. It's the neighbors who want to chase off the raccoons. And the raccoons don't give a monkeys about their lights. They're bears, right? They want to eat. And they install these massive lights trying to protect their lawn. The problem is the raccoons don't care and the skunks are blind. They're not blind, but they can't see past 3 feet. So they light up the yard like a stadium, and the animals are still there. And they're LEDs, and they're really bright LEDs. Yeah, and I'll take a photo and share it with you just to see.
Yeah, because I used to shoot right from my balcony, right in the middle of the city, but they started changing the old sodium lights for LEDs, and it's basically like daylight out there, and it's impossible because the spectrum is just full length. It's not only sodium line, so I had to move to my cottage. So that's why I'm asking.
First world problems if you have a cottage there, Jan.
Yeah.
I also think that when they put LEDs out, Peter might know this better than I do, they're really towards the blue side of the spectrum, and your oxygen is dead. Sulfur and HA, they're channels that, they're a lot more friendly, especially HA. Oxygen is noisy and shit anyway, so the moment you put some LEDs in there, good luck.
Yeah. Actually, it depends because, for example, in my city, the LEDs are quite cold and, like you said, kind of bluish. But over in the village where my cottage is, they installed LEDs, which they which are quite warm, and they also start dimming them, so it actually got better. So it's really dependent also on the people if they think about what they're gonna do with the night sky or not. So
nothing.
If they're gonna go with the cheapest
nothing.
light.
That's what people think about the night sky. You point at the sky sometimes, and they're like, no, I got the sky over here. I don't need to look up there. And that's the sad part. They're also putting little covers on the lights here. The International Dark Sky Association is pitching all these towns to put a little umbrella, so the lights don't go up, they go down, and that makes a huge difference. But change is hard, and street lights and lights in general make people safe for some reason. So yeah, okay. Any other questions before I move on? Let's look at processing quickly. So this is some older data. This is the same telescope as Torsten has. It's a TS Optics 12-inch RC, massive little telescope. This was on the Paramount ME1. This is data that's shot at 1:1, so meaning full resolution is 61 megapixels, using a QHY 600 mono camera. Chroma, I believe 5 nanometers was used here. The exposure time per frame is about 900 seconds. And I think I have about 6 or 7 hours per channel, not a lot. The Rosette Nebula doesn't need it. The reason I shot this is because I really wanted to capture the Bok globals inside the Rosette Nebula. These things here that look like a wrench that are massive in size. And as you can see, this telescope is pretty good, but it's not perfect. So if you want to look in the corners and see how bad it is, it's not perfect. It's due to the mechanical qualities and my inability to actually perfectly collimate it. Plus, you can also see some other star artifacts. But let's see what we can do even with this subpar star field. So we have 3 channels here. We have oxygen, which actually looks really good. And I'm surprised that it's not noisy. It's actually pretty good. It's rare that you see oxygen and say, oh my God, this looks great. Sulfur looks really good. There's a weird gradient to it. I'm not exactly sure what's going on, but maybe it's not going to show up. The stars are good. The nebulosity is good. There's a little bit of noise, but that's probably because I don't have enough signal. Lastly, hydrogen, which looks good on anything. Hydrogen, you can probably image the moon, and I have, and it looks good. You can see really fine detail in the space dust. This telescope was running at 2,000 millimeters. It was reduced by 0.8 using a TS Optics little corrector, which is a cool little thing. So what to do next, right? These frames have been aligned. As you can see, they have a little bit of overlap from the drift. And now we gotta stack them. Now everybody has a different process. You can choose to basically stretch and do everything you want on these. We're gonna do something really basic. We're just gonna stack these and process them quickly. So no fancy pixel math. You don't need that. First, learn how to do your images in basic Hubble, and then you can play with the synthetics. So you just do sulfur in red, hydrogen in green, oxygen in blue, and then you press apply. Hopefully it's not going to take long. Again, it's a 61 megapixel resolution image. It's done. Okay. So now it looks green. It does look green because it is there's a lot of hydrogen. So now we're going to fix that by unlinking the channels. Here we go. This looks better. Now, the first thing you got to do is make sure that your corners look good. You don't have any extra stuff in there that can influence any of the actions you take. And I'm just going to do this. Now, usually I do deconvolution because deconvolution deals with anything that comes off a star. Stars can have flares, stars can have little lines, stars can have quite a few things. Deconvolution pulls that back in. I might be mistaken if I say that, and also increases some of the detail that you can see. So I'm going to take a quick preview here of the Bok global. I'm going to copy this image, and we're going to do a quick deconvolution to see the before and after. Let me quickly do that. And it's going to take a second. So how do I do deconvolution? I'm lazy. I use Easy Processing Suite in PixInsight. It's very simple, not complicated. All you do is open it up. The image has to be in linear format, so it's not stretched. We'll create a quick raw mask to mask the stars. Now, you can use downsampling. You don't need it to go that crazy. You have to set up your GPU, though, to create the mask. Once you do, you'll see how quickly this actually speeds up. You need to create the mask to protect your stars. If anybody has questions on how to use your GPU to do this, and not your CPU, which you shouldn't use, let me know. Okay, the mask is done. It's going to run a couple of algorithms of pixel math in there. There's magic. Now we're going to quickly protect the background. So I need to create a background mask. This is the longest part of the process. So I'm quickly going to create a background mask. This takes literally no time at all. And then lastly, we're going to do what's called a dynamic PSF, a measurement of the stars. It's going to pick 50 stars. Usually most telescopes are fine at sensitivity 1. The Hunters needs a different setting because it finds thousands of stars. Now this is going to basically create a median star size, which it has. And now we're going to run the convolution. The default settings are fine. And if you guys are wondering how these numbers show up, it's easy. RAM disks. If you make your RAM hard drive and you make it the temporary processing storage, it's going to be pretty fast. Usually these numbers on an SSD are 500 megs. On an NVMe, maybe 1,000, 2,000. On RAM, they go up to about 7,500 megabits per second, which makes it very fast. The deconvolution is almost done. Now we're going to see the results, and then we're going to do a few more things. And that's kind of it. Any questions as this is going on?
What is this program that you're using to process?
Oh, sorry. This is PixInsight. This is the bread and butter of any astrophotographer. You can use Photoshop. Now, I'm a big supporter of Photoshop. It's how I used to work. But PixInsight is a specialized software that has the biggest support for action. So now we're good. This is done.
Iwan, I have a question, but not particularly to this processing. Maybe we should do this in the end. I'm just wondering how you focus the RC. Do you have you a motor focuser connected, or how you do this?
Yes. So as I'm showing the difference, the before and after of deconvolution, you guys can see the difference, right? I don't have to explain the sharpness and the black globals and the fact that some of the Gaussian blur is gone. Yeah. So my telescopes, I try to use what's called automated focusers or little motors. And I use a software called SkyX. You can use Nina, you can use anything you want. What happens is your software starts taking images and analyzing star size on a subframe. So the way it would work is, let's imagine it like this. You take an image of your telescope, and let's say you focus on this little part here. Then the software is going to take a number of exposures at different steps. So the motor is going to move in and out and measure the size of the star. When the star is at its smallest, it will define that that's the star, that's the focus. So that's auto-focusing for telescopes. Now, plenty of solutions out there. Most imaging software tools can handle autofocus. Again, it's an algorithm that measures the point size. You have to pick a subframe, so you don't try to analyze 500 stars. You have to pick a small to medium-sized star. You don't go that big. And yeah, it's just a simple process of learning. I don't focus by hand. I don't sit outside in the cold. And I don't even have a knob on my telescope. It's robotic, meaning that you can only control it by software. And I use a Prima Luce Esaro 3-inch, fantastic little focuser. That's very accurate.
Okay, thanks.
Cool. So now this is why I deconvolute. I think the details are pretty evident. It looks pretty good, especially if you're using a small focal length telescope and a big pixel camera, like the Hunter's example. Your image resolution is so big that you lose a lot of detail. So deconvolution, you should always do it. There's nothing to lose. I'm going to get rid of the initial image, and now I'm going to start looking at this image. I don't do a lot of crazy stuff when it comes to processing. I really have a simple and basic process that I do. After I've done that, I literally just stretch it. And I don't stretch manually. You click on this little nuke button, drag it on the histogram, and then it's stretched. That's it. Nothing fancy. Now, to me, there's a couple of things I want to do. I will always get rid of the green using this SCNR tool. And then, as you guys can see, there's these magenta stars that are here, a little bit of magenta. The easiest way to do this, you invert the image, you do this, and your stars are fine. So now it's looking a lot more like the Hubble palette.
This was pretty fast. So you do the screen reduction again on the inverted image.
Yes. So let me go slower. Excuse me. So you see, I invert the image here, Thurston. I invert it, and you can see this green. This is just magenta. So when you invert an image, magenta turns to green. And then if you use SCNR on green, it makes it white. So then I do that. And then this is the final result. So now for the fun stuff. The image is stretched. You can do it both ways. You can stretch it like this another time if you want. Usually when you do that, it brings some more of the green back. You can even do it like this depending on your data. Let's not do that. Let's do it manually. So you choose a preview. You pull a little bit of the highlights, pull a little bit of the shadows down, and then maybe some saturation. And this is really up to whoever's personal taste. You can do it. If this looks good to you, that's your image. It doesn't matter. But most of the time, it takes a few adjustments to get it right. Now, this is where not having perfect flats is going to show up in a sec. Let's say that maybe this is enough. I know you guys will say this is too bright or too crazy. You can see my flat on oxygen wasn't that good because you can see some blue here. I'm going to actually start fixing that. So now that we have this, what's next? Well, before I applied the curves, I should have done something else, which is remove the stars. Here's how I remove the stars. I have this tool called Star Exterminator, built by Russell Croman. It is using AI, artificial intelligence, or some kind of machine learning algorithm to remove the stars. And it's also good to remove the stars if you want to put them back in. I'm going to take all the stars out because if I don't take the stars out and I do what I just did, I'm going to end up with massive blobs that are oversaturated and they're really big. So the stars are going to remove in a sec. Depending on your image size in your computer, it might be faster than mine. So this is happening. You can use StarNet, another tool, anything you want to use to remove stars. I use this because Russell sends out AI updates every so often and it gets better and better. So I like to support him. He's doing amazing work, both for noise reduction and star reduction. Okay, so give it a sec. This image, I chose this image because it does have some flaws. Again, the telescope doesn't have the perfect stars. The image itself wasn't flat fielded maybe 100% properly. So it's not the data set you get from Chile. So now let's do it here. When I do it on the image that's starless, you can see, yes, there is some blue here from oxygen, but it's not as bad. I think this is enough, and I'll show why. And now, if I go and compare again quickly, you see how the star size here increases massively, the saturation increases. You don't really want to do that. That's just going to mean a lot of headache. We'll leave this image just stretched, and this is fine. Now we're going to work on this image. Now, most times I do a mask, and what I try to do is focus on the part that I actually care about, which is really the nebulosity, right? So you mask it until you get the right amount of nebulosity, you put a little smoothness in there. So this is going to apply a quick eye dynamic range, and then we're almost done. Any questions in the meantime? So in order to preserve the center of the nebulosity, I am going to apply a HDR transformation to the nebula. I don't care about the background. It's going to be desaturated in a second. It's really just there as a secondary thing. Okay, so this is done. Just to kind of show you guys what I had before. The differences are small, but you can start seeing the dark nebulosity is a bit more clearer. Cool. So now one more thing before we go away. We take this, we invert it, and now we're going to deal with this blue annoying part here. Now, the easiest way to do it is you can just drop the saturation a little bit, but you got to be careful because if you go really crazy, it's going to look really bad. So you have to be really, really careful how much you pull out. I just pulled out a little bit. I think I need to do one more time. As you can see, it's starting to dim out. Here we go. I think this is enough. Now, what you can observe is this image is very, very noisy, right? That's fine. Noise is not a problem. Noise is part of dealing with space images. But the details are really impressive. For a mass-produced telescope with optics that are not thousands of dollars on iron mill, that are made by regular people in small factories, this is really good. This image, by the way, the processing was published by NASA as one of their notable APODs, not an actual astrophotography of the day. Now, usually at this point, I do color mixing, which is I take this image, I send it to Photoshop, and I mix the colors to actually make the gold be red. Now, I'm not going to get into Photoshop, but I'm going to show you the results. So the easiest thing is you save this image as a TIFF. And if you want to use Photoshop and Pixelsight together, I recommend you use 16-bit, not 32. Okay, I'm quickly going to change the color scheme and I'll be back. Or Torsten, do you want me to show how I change the color scheme? Am I giving all the secrets out today? Is that what it is?
Yeah, you can show it.
Yeah, just
That
give me
would be
one moment.
interesting, yeah.
Okay. I need to quickly import this into Photoshop. One moment. I'll reshare and then show you Photoshop.
So maybe just a question before while you
Go
do
ahead.
it. So you took 3 pictures with different filters, right? And then you
Correct.
combine them together.
Yes.
Okay.
So basically, there are more subframes, but 3 channels, 3 different filters.
Okay. So what we do is we collect emission gases. And again, Peter's bigger expert than I am, hydrogen, sulfur, oxygen, and we map those to the RGB color spectrum. That's what the Hubble palette is. And those filters allow us to actually get more contrast and kill some of the light pollution. So now we're in Photoshop. This is very familiar to everybody. I'm going to do something that's going to appear lazy again. And it's just because I kind of built a process around it. So in here, I use camera raw filter, and I have a bunch of presets that I have defined. I go through these presets and kind of see, well, what am I looking at? What do I want to show? If it's a wide field image, for example, this might work really well, this might work really well, or this might work really well. Let's look at this. Now we're going to go into adjustments. This is where the magic happens, really. This is how I get my color. I change reds and oranges like this. Now, if you really want to get more crazy, you can pull more texture from here. Be careful. It brings a lot more artifacts. So again, I have a preset that I can look from, and I have solar ones, I have regular space ones, and then I just choose what I think looks the best. For me, again, focusing on the start part of the nebulosity, I really, really like what this is looking like. I go, okay. There's one more step here, which is a really old Photoshop trick that a lot of solar photographers use. You duplicate this layer, go into filter, other, high pass. Now, this is really interesting. Watch what happens when I do overlay. It starts looking pretty cool. Now, I usually do about 25% to 12% opacity. This is really up to whoever wants to do it. Too much is, again, not working. All you have to do now is merge these layers, save it, and we're done with Photoshop. So I'm going to switch back to Pixelsight.
But we need stars.
Yes, we're going to get to that, Professor Torsten. Stay with us a second, as the TIFF is saving. I like how Peter has his setup. He's drinking a nice glass of wine there. So now, here's the comparison. We started with this image on the right, and then we went to Photoshop for a bit of texture and some different colors. Now, you can see, because I applied texture, you see how these clouds here actually start to show up the detail in them? Now, if I would have spent more time imaging, these would have been a lot better. But still, we're almost there. Now we're going to do noise reduction. Again, I used to have a crazy algorithm that I wrote in PixInsight, but Russell's algorithm is so much better. That's all you have to do. Drag and you're done. Noise is going to go up. It's again using an AI tool that he's built. And if you wait just a second, the details are actually very, very impressive. So it takes about, I don't know, 20 seconds. And the noise is going to go up. Now, I'm not hawking his products. I actually love using them. If you don't want to use them, you can use anything. So let's look before. You can see the noise is pretty bad, right? Well, after I apply it, it actually smooths it really well. And it's actually very well rounded. It doesn't remove any of the details. It doesn't remove any of the dynamic range. This blue nebulosity is still here. Okay, so now going back to your point, I mean, adding back the stars. Well, I used to do a lot more complex things, but I'm kind of lazy. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up Star Exterminator again and select Generate a Star Image. And I'm going to get it in. So this is gonna create a starless image and export the stars. I just need the stars. And then we're almost done. Any other questions in the meantime? Sophie, Peter, Jan, you got any questions?
There's a question in chat how you take flat frames with your RC.
Yeah, I have a sketching pad, or for the hunters, I have to use a more sensitive light panel. The Amazon sketch pads that you can find are amazing if your telescope is not really fast. Anything F4 and higher, $30 on Amazon, $40 will get you a sketching pad. Remember, if you're using CMOS to match your mean value to your lights. So if your lights have 600 to 1,000 mean value, your flats have to be similar. It doesn't work on the 1/3 histogram stuff. That's only DSLRs and one-shot colors. If you're using mono and a very sensitive chip, in your case, so if you're using a 2600 IMX 571, you have to match the flats with your lights. Okay, so we don't care about this. So now these are the stars. It's done a pretty good job, but the problem is this is a color image. I don't need that. I'm gonna actually make it a grayscale. The reason it is I want to use it as a mask. I'm going to mask this image here. And to mask something in PixInsight, you grab this little thing and you put it here. Honestly, I didn't know about this. I saw it in Chuck's videos. You learn from the best. So now this is masked, and now only the stars are visible. We don't need that. We need to invert. So now what you can see in red is protected. What you see outside of red is not protected. Let me get rid of some of these things here. For some reason, they don't want to delete. Anyway, imagine that these are deleted.
Okay.
I don't know why it doesn't work. So last step is the simplest one. You have to actually add the stars back in. So the easiest way to do it, let's say starless, you name this starless, you copy this, and you use what's called pixel math. Nothing too advanced in here. All you have to do is put the name in here, make sure that everything is masked, and then drag. And that's it.
Why don't you add the starless image from Star Exterminator on your RGB image? Why do you do it with masks?
I actually like to do it with masks because I have more control over the stars. Sometimes when the star field is a little bit crazy, I try to work on the stars a little bit as well. Sometimes the stars, depending on which part of the sky you're imaging, can be a little bit too bright. So I have to tone that down. I have tried to do it the other way around, but my focus is on nebulosity, not on stars.
You know what I do?
Mm-hmm.
I extract the stars on the linear data, and then I stretch them separately to how much I want them to show up. So I have really good control over saturation and the stretch, the amount I want to stretch them.
But that's because you're a better astrophotographer than am I, and I'm lazy. And
you should try that.
Use automated tools. No, I would love to see how you do it, because when you have the control over the stretch, I know how to stretch the images. You define how much luminance your stars are going to put out, right? That's why you do it?
Yes, and I stretch with arcsine stretch, so I can retain the saturation of the stars, which is really great.
Well, that tells us, Torsten, that I'm the wrong person to the demo. I said Sophie's a better astrophotographer. I wasn't kidding.
You're
She
the
has
mono
funny
expert, okay? And I can do the OC thingy.
Perfect. I think we'll have to do that. So to kind of give you guys an idea, we started from a bunch of raw frames that were decent. They were not amazing. They were not the best. This was hydrogen. Excuse me. This was hydrogen. That's pretty good. Sulfur was really good. I chose this image because there's gradients in there, and the image is not perfect, not by a lot. And oxygen, which, as you can see on the left, is pretty bright. And we ended up with this image. It's actually not bad, and for some reason, these things don't want to go away. I thought if you click on one of these, you can delete it. I don't know why.
You're hitting a different button. It's the top bar.
I found it. I found it. Yep.
Yeah.
Thank you.
That's the one.
Yeah. So now let me kind of focus on this image, and I think with this on that. You can use a lot of stuff if you want. You can use topaz. You can use any kind of sharpness AI tools you want. We're not going to get into this. Maybe if we talk about solar, we'll look at topaz. But this is the final image. I would still do a bit more processing on this bright side. And to Sophie's point, if you really care about stars, don't do what I do. Bring the stars on top of the starless image, because then the stars will be a lot more dominant. That's just how I do it. And I've tried to do it the other way, but again, my focus is specifically in this image was to bring these out. These fascinate me, these Bach globals. I've imaged it a bunch of times. And I have another image of a piece of the nebula, which is here, which I'll show in a different video. But that's it from me. Let me stop sharing and hand it over to whoever wants to go next.
So great. Thank you very much for that impression. It was really cool to see it. To see it a bit more in detail, how this is done. Cool.
And again, every image and every astrophotography is different. Whatever your goals are, don't try to copy everybody. Be yourself and be whoever you want it to be, and just be proud of what you produce. It is what it is. It's not an easy hobby, and it's very hard to achieve.
It's also, I wanted to mention that it's really funny to watch other people process images, because everybody has their own workflow and everybody does things so differently. It's really interesting to see, for example, how you approach different things, and what I consider, for example, too complicated to do and I'm lazy to do, and what for example, in comparing to me, what's interesting that some of the things you do are much less complicated than I do them, and it's really interesting to watch other people, how they approach problems, basically.
And it's an ever-evolving process. You always change it. I used to do star reduction. I used to do all of this stuff. It's really what you want it to be. And again, focus on the results and how you want to get there. Have an image in mind you want to be better than, or at least be close to. You'll get there. It's just a matter of work. And one question, Sophie, how long does it take for you to process one of those images that you were describing? Give us an estimate.
Okay. For this image, the background here, it took me, I think, 1.5 weeks to get it to this point.
No, I'm not talking about imaging. No, not imaging.
Just the processing. I'm talking about the processing.
So how many hours? Give us hours, just like we were talking about space integration. Integration time to processing. Roughly.
I think probably 12 hours. Just the processing. No stacking, nothing. Just me actively working on it. But it was one of the first images which were that deep. So I think if I were to redo it now, I would be way quicker. But yeah.
but still, I think in those 12 hours, you improved your workflow a lot. Think about it as a decision tree. You go down a path, you say, oh, I don't want to go there, I'll go here. And then this is how it works, right? It's all a decision path that you have to follow. And conditional logic comes into it. If I remove the stars, then I can do color mixing there, or I can do denoise there. You learn from it.
Does it happen to you that you process image, you're happy with it, then you sleep on it, and the next day you look at it and it's like, oh, I gotta do it again?
Yeah, the first time I processed this, I deleted everything after a couple of days and redid did it. So the 12 hours I was talking about don't include the first try.
Oh, so it's more. There's a reason why underscore is supported in file names, Jan, because you can have 1, 2, 5, 10. Final doesn't make it final. No, final doesn't make it final.
Yeah, I have multiple folders with always like Rosette Nebula, V1, V2, V3.
Yeah, me too. Ivan, I have a technical question. What PC do you use to process these 60 megapixel images?
Yeah, so before I was a designer, before I was working in technology as a software architect, I actually used to build computers. So I am pretty passionate about building computers. I rebuilt my computer that's over here. It is a Intel i9 10980. It's an 18-core processor, 36-thread, overclocked to, I won't say how much because I don't remember. I think like 5 gigahertz.
Yeah, but
yeah,
we have an idea.
Yeah, it's using 128 gigs of RAM, out of which 36 gigs goes to PixInsight as temporary storage as RAM disks. It has not a really crazy GPU, a 1080 Ti. And I have a couple of NVMEs. The part about it that's cool is it's a dual looped cooling system. So I built a liquid cooling system that has 2 large radiator, one that's 0.5 meter, 20 inches for the people who want to use inches, and another one that's 360 millimeters. So when the CPU and the GPU cool in a loop, it goes through those 2 big radiators. So my CPU usually doesn't get hotter than 45 Celsius. When I'm doing regular stuff, 30 when I'm not doing anything, and it goes to about 80 Celsius when I'm doing sun images, specifically stacking. So it's something I built. You can use anything. Don't use a Mac because they suck at processing. They're not built for this. They're not made to deal with any complex actions except the browser and maybe a couple of other things. You need a PC or something that can really work hard.
Okay.
Shouldn't the M1 be really good for processing?
It's actually really bad. One of my friends, I own an M1. It's rubbish. The scores in PixInsight don't go over 10,000. My computer goes to 25,000. And I built a configuration for one of my friends, a computer that was under $4,000, which is approximately the top of the line max M1 or M2. And it's twice as fast or 3 times as fast. And we have to remember that Mac is mostly a laptop. So you can't really use a Ferrari to drag, a tractor. It doesn't work like that. They're meant for different things.
Yeah, I'm processing on my 7-year-old PC, so and it's
probably
still
faster
working.
than a Mac. It's probably faster than a Mac.
I mean, with GPU acceleration, it's really damn good because I used to wait so long for star extraction, and now it's just less than a minute. It's a dream.
Yeah, it's just literally a DLL and a tensor setting that you have to do. It doesn't take long. There's a guy I need to call Queeve the Lazy Geek. I learned to be lazy from him. And he has tutorials on how to get your GPU to do the star reduction. And it literally takes 5 minutes, and then it's once and done.
Okay, so really cool. No further questions. I can't see something. So we can do a little round if somebody has something to share, but I believe it's only Peter, maybe? Or even may you share also something more?
I'm done.
Okay.
I'm done.
Okay.
I showed you guys some of the images I'm working on. I'm curious to see what Peter did. Well, I know what Peter did because I've seen some of his images. It's always amazing.
By the way, I have also...
I volunteered... Oh, sorry. I know I volunteered to be skipped, but since there's not so many people, I managed to process some of the Northern Lights I took in Norway. So
okay.
I might have something, but it's not a lot.
Okay.
Don't be shy. Show us, even if it's bad. Don't worry. We won't go hard on you. Yeah, we'll go.
I also have 3 images from they reached me by email. So I definitely want to show them too, because they're really cool. But yeah, let's start. Peter, will you take the screen? Can start.
Yeah. Let's see.
You should. Yeah, exactly.
There we go. Okay. So the first image is the sculpted galaxy. So that's 25 hours worth of data.
Peter, would you mind bringing it in the center of the screen?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, great.
Yeah. And yeah, so I took about 10 hours worth of luminance and then 5 hours each of RGB with this image.
Peter, this is taken with an SET, isn't it?
This is taken with the 9.25-inch edge. Yeah. So yeah, I'm pretty happy with it. It took a long time because, quite frankly, the conditions were lousy. Seeing was lousy a lot of the time, and so it was multiple nights. I think probably took almost 2.5 months to gather the data. But I got there in the end. So
what camera are you using here, Peter?
This is the 294 mm. So it's 4.63 micron pixels. So that's bin 2x2. So the native size is 2.3 microns, and generally with that scope you bin 2x2.
And quick question, Peter, did you bin luminance the RGB channels more? Because usually a lot of people who do one-shot color or LRGB usually
I kept
luminance.
it the same right across the channels. Look, to be honest, I probably could have been 3x3 with the color. Because in the end, I convoluted the color quite a lot before adding the luminance. So I really could have got away with binning 3x3 with the color, I think. So maybe next time. So that's the sculptor. Then then I went out to sort of Bortle 1 zone, took about an hour and a half worth on the Pleiades, so I didn't have much time. I was running an open night in the Cederberg, and I had a bit of time left at the end of the evening, and I just took an hour and a half of data. And the thing with Bortle 1 is you don't need much time. It's to take this image in Bortle 7 would probably have taken several nights, but in Bortle 1, an hour and a half was plenty.
And this is using the RASA?
This is using the ASCAR 300 F5 with the ASI 2600 MC Pro.
Beautiful image. You can see the IFN around there. It's very subtle, but you can see.
I wish I'd had a couple more nights, and maybe put 10 hours in Bortle 1.
But not on the Pleiades.
Maybe during the holidays.
Why not? You can do 10 hours of luminance. There's enough dust in there. You can do as much as you want.
There's plenty of, you can just start to see it. Yeah. And if you had the luminance, then it would really bring that out. So, absolutely.
And then my data, Peter, you can take the luminance from mine. I have a bit more.
And then a couple of sort of ongoing things with the RASA. So, you're going back to the Rosette Nebula. So this is just the HA channel. It's about 4 hours of data.
That looks like a M33 camera, the 533.
This is the 533. Yeah, I'm actually really enjoying this camera, mainly because the file sizes are so small. So it's super fast downloading the images. You can do live stacking very easily, sure, you lose out on the size of the frame, but if you want the bigger area, then you can just do mosaics. So it's a great little camera, and it's not expensive. As Astro cameras go, if you're looking for an sort of entry level mono camera, I think the 533 mm is a pretty good bet.
But it's also a pretty masterful combination, Peter, because a lot of people don't understand how the RASA works. They don't understand that a large chip doesn't work with RASA. You will start seeing stuff you should never want to see in a telescope outside the edges. Yeah. So using such a small sensor, it's a purpose-built setup. So yeah.
It's still a nice field.
Yes. Stunning.
And then the horse head also with with the same setup. So again, about 4 hours of HA. So again, you know, it's you're not getting the full frame, but you're getting, you know, the central portion of the horse head and all the details. The filters, by the way, the filters used for this were the Beta 3.5 nanometer high-speed filters. So
how was Oxygen for those, Peter? Does Oxygen have some nasty surprises, or it works?
I don't know yet. I haven't used it. You know, it's I've only just started using those filters, so I've yet to use the Oxygen filter. So I'm looking forward to seeing what happens there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's me.
Okay. Then I would share my screen. Just a moment. Not sure if this is working. You should see a black screen.
We see your screen, like everything.
Okay, so now let's do it this way. Here are only three. This time only 3 images reached me, so for all you out there, I just want to show you again the contact email address. If you have some photos to show, just send them to this email address that they will reach me directly, so I can put them in the next show. We are always really curious about your photos. And I will start first with this one. Yeah, let me take this one. This is from Brian Kraftchit. And this was nominated as an AA Pod 2, which is pretty awesome. This is really awesome to see the fireworks galaxy here with the star cluster. And let me just read through his mail. It was taken with an TS Photon 8-inch f5. Related TS Photon, so the simplest one, and ZWO ASI 294 MC Pro. Yeah, I think that's really stunning with all this dust here in this field. That's great. And the second one, I believe, yeah, that's the same setup, the Iris Nebula. Unfortunately, I don't have more detailed information about, for example, exposure time, but I believe it's pretty long. But also wonderful star colors here. And
it's probably taken with a Newtonian or something, right? It looks like the diffraction spikes.
That's a TS Photon Newtonian, so a very basic telescope, but still a very nice result here. And all people that know the 294 MC Pro know that there's also processing involved. But I really like this one here. Great stuff, Brian. Thank you very much. And the second one is from René Bonde Hoffman from Denmark, one of our resident viewers. And this is also pretty stunning processing. Let me just read through his mail, the data he sent me. It was taken with an TS Optics 100Q quadruplet f at f5.8.
We can see everything, so we can see the data as well, Torsten. So we can see the notepad. So he's using a quad band filter here.
Sorry guys, I shared a.
That's okay. I think it's fine. We can see the image.
I shared a wrong screen.
No, it's fine.
I told you.
Can't see it, so.
Okay, yeah, that's the wrong screen. But anyway, then you can see it. Radiant Quad Ultra filter. That's crazy. Wow. Okay.
Can we zoom in on the stars a little bit? I have a question for René, because I've used this filter a little while. And René, by the way, beautiful processing. Make sure you do some HDR in the center board of that tadpole, because then you'll bring out the oxygen there. Beautiful image. Again, that filter requires more processing time than it requires imaging time to get the stars right. So let's zoom in a little bit. I just want to see if he's used the stars from one channel or it's the. This is beautiful. The details are really good.
Yeah.
I assume that the stars are not from the red channel, and they're the ones that come by default. The blue stars in the radian are not the best. That's why I'm saying that.
Mm. Oh, and he's also in the chat. That's great.
Yeah,
15 minutes in
That's why I asked him.
Ah, okay.
It's so beautiful. It almost feels like James Webb or Hubble took these pictures. I'm paying attention to what you guys have done. It's unbelievable. It's hard to believe this you can take through a normal telescope from Earth.
You can take this, using this filter in particular, you can take an image from the middle of Berlin if you want. Because it's a narrowband filter, you can image from the most light polluted skies, and all you need to do is get more information.
I'm pretty sure if I showed to some of my friends and colleagues, they would never believe me. I took this from a telescope.
Yeah. Okay, so I forgot. Did I forget something? No, that's it. Sorry. Yeah, so if somebody else want to show something? No?
I managed to dig up some test pictures I just processed as a test version for time lapses because I took a couple thousand images of the Northern Lights, and just a little forward, it's quite difficult. I've been traveling to way up north for 3 years in a row now, and the Northern Lights are so difficult to capture because it moves just so quickly, and also it varies in the brightness so fast that, for example, I was shooting something and I was doing 5-second exposures at ISO 5000, and it was quite undersaturated, and in 20 seconds it got to be so blown out and just huge smash because the Northern Lights are so dynamic. So if I can share my screen, I have I'll start with this one. This is just a little picture I took while we were waiting for the Northern Lights to start. You can see here this is actually air glow. And right here this is Northern Lights, but it's nothing special. It was partly cloudy and we didn't see much that night, but we were still happy because
the Pleiades are up there, right? The Pleiades, Betelgeuse is up there, right?
Yeah. These are Pleiades. This is Mars. This is Orion. And this was actually the first clear night we had. We've been there for this was, I believe, 5th day, and the weather was extremely terrible. So high winds, rain, fog. So it was quite bad start of the vacation. But so we were happy we saw at least this. And I'll try to change the screen to something else. So then we moved to we had a lake house near the lake, and this is what we saw. And this was one of the, or this is still when it was starting, but it was one of the most intense Northern Lights ever. So this is just the start. So it's not really illuminating anything else, just the sky.
And one question, Jan, forgive my ignorance. I've only seen it from an airplane. When you say they're starting, what do you mean? Is it like a light show that starts? Sorry, I don't.
Yeah. Basically, you can see just some stripes that are. When I looked at this with my naked eye, it was just little dim lines slowly waving across the sky. So when it starts for real, like, I mean, it basically explodes above your head. It moves so quickly and it's so bright. You could read a book outside. It's incredible. So I'll share.
And is it in bursts or it starts and goes? How does it work?
It starts and goes. The most intense part was maybe about I don't know, 2-3 minutes tops.
Wow.
So it's not that long, but it goes for a couple of hours. But it's really it dims and then it brightens again. It's extremely dynamic. It's I always tell people that the only way it's indescribable. So you just have to experience it for yourself. Like, for example, this is part of the time lapse I'm trying to do, and you can see the mountains are a little bit green. This was already intense a lot, but I'll just
what exposure are you using, Jan? Sorry to interrupt.
This is half a second at ISO 5000, and it's still blurry because it was so fast. And now it's gonna start. And like I said, it's sorry, wrong way.
Wow.
I have to get back because it's basically unusable because it's so blown out, and you can see the mountains how they light up.
I don't know why you say unusual. This is stunning. It's very usable.
Insane. It was so intense, and also when it happens, it's there's nothing you can do because you're just stunned. Yeah. You're staring at it with your mouth open, and you can't do anything.
Jan, what was the exact location where you were?
This was Svensby. It's area close to Tromsø.
Okay. Yeah.
It was a little bit more inland, so we had a little better weather because when you're on the coast, you're getting the all the nasty stuff that comes from Atlantic. So when we moved in a little bit inwards, it was better. So yeah, this is how it explodes, and this took only like 3 minutes. So yeah, and you can see it starts. It was, I believe, 3 seconds apart each exposure, and this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and it's like this. It's so dynamic. It's incredible. So yeah, my recommendation is go up north, or Peter, you have to go south.
This is amazing. Some of them look like nebulas. But all of this is just radiation, right? That's being deflected off the poles.
Yeah, solar wind.
Yeah.
Interacting with the magnetosphere.
Stunning.
So that's me.
Great. Thanks for sharing. Okay, then I think we have it for tonight. Great, then we are in time.
Just, shortly also share just 1 minute maybe. Just while watching you, everyone, what you have done, I just want to share that I'm so proud of this picture.
Oh, okay. Yes.
So I was just taking a photo of the sunspots with my Canon, the Canon Mark IV.
Mm-hmm.
And all of a sudden I see this airplane transiting. So by the clouds, I knew I got something, and I was so excited because I know a lot of like people who take pictures, they want to get this moment. So I was very lucky to grab the sunspots, take the sunspots, but at the same time have this airplane transiting.
So and what focal length is this? What focal length is this? What focal length?
Of the telescope?
Yeah. What were you using to capture this? The lens.
So it's a Bresser 1,000, so 1 meter and 20 centimeter.
Mm.
So it's just, I was just testing it out, you know, with, and I managed to take this airplane, like transiting. So I was very lucky.
Beautiful image.
So maybe I thought to share it with you also.
Cool, yes.
Just like you are.
Yeah, feel free next time if you have something also from your observatory or something surrounding that must not be an astrophoto by itself. So something to tell us. So
equipment is welcome. That's, I think,
equipment always welcome. Yes. Yeah. So thank you all very much, and sorry for the little technical issues. I just updated my Zoom and the OBS, so this is all a bit fiddly.
It was great to see behind the production quality of Torsten there. We could all see, like, when you say action, mute that guy, mute the other guy. It was great.
All the other guys around. Yeah.
Oh, you don't want to give a shout out to the team, Torsten? The person who holds the mic above you, the lights, the makeup? No? Okay.
No. So yeah, that was the last show for this year. The next one is planned for February 2023. And then we will have also, again, a special guest, which will be from Japan next time, which is really cool. So we have now covered all time zones in one day. That's great. We will cover all time zones. I'm really curious to see him. But anyway, so far I wish all of you, and of course also the viewers, a Merry Christmas, and all the best for the next time, and I hope to see you in February again. So thank you very much for joining us. Until next time, bye-bye.
Happy New Year to everyone.
Happy New Year, happy holidays.
Good years, guys. Next
Bye.